If I see one more track of slush on this marble floor, someone is losing their holiday bonus. Gavin Sterling's voice cracked like a whip, cutting through the soft jazz of the silent night. The holiday music, usually meant to suit the souls of high-spending shoppers on Chicago's Magnificent Mile, seemed to freeze in the air. Inside Aurelia Boutique, the scent of cinnamon candles and expensive Italian leather hung heavy, a sharp contrast to the ferocious blizzard raging against the floor-to-ceiling glass windows outside. Gavin, the store manager, was a man who believed perfection was the only acceptable standard. He rubbed a microscopic smudge off the glass display case with his silk handkerchief, his eyes darting nervously to the brass plaque on the wall near the entrance, proudly managed by the Sterling Tower Group. He knew the building owners were ruthless about standards, and this Christmas Eve, he was desperate to break every sales record on the books to secure his position. Lily, the champagne tray is tilting. Look alive, Gavin snapped at the 20-year-old intern standing by the velvet ropes. Lily straightened up, her hands trembling slightly as she adjusted the crystal flutes. She was new, young, and terrified of Gavin, who wore his tailored suit like armor and his disdain like a weapon. We have VIPs expected any minute. I want this place looking like a palace, not a bus station. Just then, the heavy glass doors groaned open against the howling wind. A swirl of white snow danced into the pristine lobby, followed by a figure that made Gavin's lip curl in instant disapproval. Maya Robinson stepped inside, the bells above the door jingling cheerfully, mocking the sudden tension in the room. She was heavily pregnant, her 8-month baby bump hidden beneath a massive, worn-out puffy coat that looked like it had seen a decade of harsh Chicago winters. Her boots were heavy, practical rubber snow boots, caked with the gray slush of the city streets. She stomped her feet on the welcome mat, exhaling a cloud of cold air, looking exhausted but relieved to finally escape the biting wind. To Gavin, she didn't look like a customer. She looked like a liability. He signaled Lily with a sharp, cutting motion of his hand. "Put the champagne away," he hissed, leaning in close so only the intern could hear. "Don't serve her. She's just here to steal our heat. Watch her hands. People like that always try to slip small accessories into their pockets." Lily hesitated. She looked at the woman, at the tired lines around her eyes, the way she cradled her stomach protectively, and the snow melting on her shoulders. "But Mr. Sterling," Lily whispered back, her voice barely audible, "she's pregnant and shivering. Shouldn't I at least offer her a water? It's Christmas Eve." Gavin's eyes narrowed into dangerous slits. He stepped physically between Lily and the newcomer, blocking the intern's path with his shoulder. "You are here to sell luxury, Lily, not to run a charity shelter. If you want to keep your job passed tonight, you'll stay right there and let me handle the trash." Maya took a step further onto the polished marble, looking around the store with a soft, appreciative gaze, completely unaware that she had already been judged, sentenced, and dismissed by the man watching her like a hawk. Gavin adjusted his cuffs, took a deep breath to compose his features into a mask of professional coldness, and decided to remove this problem personally before she could ruin the aesthetic of his store. Gavin straightened his tie and marched toward Maya with a fake tight smile. "Excuse me, ma'am. The public restrooms are actually down the hall, outside the store. The storm outside is nothing compared to the tension building inside. If you are hooked and ready to see what happens next, drop an 8 in the comments right now to show you are here. Also, make sure to subscribe to Black Brilliance and hit that bell icon. You won't want to miss the satisfaction of what's coming later in the story. Your engagement helps us continue bringing you the best content every day. Now, let's continue." "I'm not here for the restroom," Maya said, her voice calm and cultured, contrasting with her rugged appearance. "I'm here for the gold silk gown in the window." She didn't raise her voice or show the indignation that Gavin clearly expected. Instead, she simply brushed past him, her heavy boots squeaking slightly on the polished floor as she moved toward the evening wear section. Gavin stood frozen for a split second, stunned by her audacity. People dressed like her usually lowered their heads and scurried away when confronted with his authority. Recovering quickly, he signaled for Lily to stay back and hurried to intercept the woman before she could actually touch anything. The back of the store was a sanctuary of silence and mirrors, where gowns worth thousands of dollars hung like works of art. Maya stopped in front of the display mannequin wearing the gold chiffon masterpiece, her eyes softening. Unconsciously, her hand went to her left gloved hand, pressing against the diamond ring hidden beneath the wool, imagining how proud her husband would be to see her shining at the Children's Hospital Gala tonight. That dress is silk chiffon. It stains if you even look at it wrong, Gavin announced loudly, stepping directly in front of the rack to block her reach. He crossed his arms, looking her up and down with a sneer that was no longer trying to hide his prejudice. And it costs more than, well, likely more than your annual rent. Maybe try the clearance rack at Target down the street? They have polyester options that would suit your lifestyle better. Maya looked at him, her expression unreadable. I am aware of the price, she said evenly. And I am aware of the fabric. I need it for the gala tonight. If you could please move, I'd like to check the sizing. Gavin laughed, a sharp barking sound that lacked any humor. The gala? Please. Tickets to that event are $5,000 a plate. Don't insult my intelligence. From the corner of the room, Lily couldn't take it anymore. The young intern stepped forward, her face pale. Mr. Sterling, she ventured, her voice trembling. She's pregnant and she's been standing in the snow. Maybe I can get her a chair? We have the velvet ottomans in the back. Gavin whipped his head around, his eyes blazing with fury. Go check the inventory in the back room, Lily. No. Do not come out until I tell you. Lily shrank back, casting one last apologetic look at Maya before disappearing behind the curtain. Maya watched the girl go, a flicker of sadness crossing her face, but she didn't retreat. She reached out again toward the price tag of the gown. I would like to try this on. Size 8, please. Gavin snatched the tag away before her fingers could graze it, pulling the dress protectively out of her reach. I don't think so, he sneered, stepping into her personal space. We have a strict policy against window shoppers damaging merchandise. I need to see proof of funds before you touch the merchandise. We don't do window shopping on Christmas Eve. The air in the store grew heavy, the silence stretching tight as a drum. Maya's eyes hardened. She slowly pulled off her wet glove and reached into her bag. You want proof? Fine. The heavy matte black Centurion card hit the glass counter with a distinct metallic clink that echoed through the silent store. It wasn't plastic. It was anodized titanium, cold and solid. Gavin stared at it, his eyebrows knitting together in confusion. He had worked in luxury retail for 20 years, and in all that time, he had only seen a card like this once before, in the hand of a famous rapper who had rented out the entire store for a private spree. It was an invitation-only card, reserved for the ultra-wealthy, the kind of people who owned islands, not people who walked in off the street in snowy boots. His brain frantically tried to reconcile the object on the counter with the woman standing before him. Instead of realizing his mistake, his prejudice filled in the blanks with a dark, twisted logic. Stolen, he thought immediately. Or a counterfeit. He picked up the card, turning it over with a sneer. No name printed on the front? And the chip looks modified. He lied loudly, trying to perform for the other customers who had stopped browsing to watch the commotion. This is a fake. A good one, but a fake. Maya sighed, a sound of deep, weary exhaustion. She didn't plead. She simply leaned against the counter to support her back. It's a private issue card, Gavin. That is why the name is laser-etched on the back. Run it, or I'm calling my husband. He can clear this up in 10 seconds. The mention of a husband triggered panic in Gavin's mind. He didn't imagine a businessman. He imagined an accomplice, someone waiting outside in a getaway car, part of a scam ring targeting high-end boutiques during the holiday rush. Adrenaline flooded his system, overriding his training. You're not calling anyone, Gavin shouted, his voice cracking. He moved around the counter, his face flushed with self-righteous anger. You are waiting right here for the police. I'm not letting you call your backup. As Maya reached into her pocket for her phone, Gavin lunged forward. He grabbed her upper arm, his fingers digging into the wool of her coat. I said put the phone down. Don't touch me, Maya yelled, pulling back instinctively to protect her unborn child. She wrenched her arm free from his grip with surprising strength. The sudden resistance shattered Gavin's fragile control. He felt humiliated, defied in his own kingdom, in front of his staff and customers. Without thinking, driven by a surge of ugly, unchecked rage, He swung his hand. Snap! The sound of his palm striking her cheek was sickeningly loud, like a dry branch breaking in winter. Maya stumbled back, catching herself on the edge of the display case, her hand flying to her face. A collective gasp swept through the room. A woman near the door covered her mouth, while a teenager raised his phone higher, capturing the entire unforgivable moment. Gavin stood panting, his hand stinging, realizing too late that he had just crossed a line from which there was no return. But Maya didn't scream. She didn't collapse. Slowly, she straightened her spine, drawing herself up to her full height. The tiredness vanished from her eyes, replaced by a steel-cold fury that was far more terrifying than any scream. The store went deathly silent. Maya didn't cry. She lifted her phone to her ear, staring Gavin dead in the eye. Dante? It's me. I'm at the boutique in your building, and the manager just assaulted me. That slap echoed through the entire store, didn't it? If you are as shocked as I am and ready to see Gavin face the consequences, please drop the number 3 in the comments below. That lets me know you are standing with Maya. And if you haven't joined us yet, I highly recommend you subscribe to Black Brilliance and turn on the notification bell right now, because trust me, you do not want to miss Dante's arrival in the next chapter. Your support allows us to keep telling these powerful stories. Now, let's see what happens when true power answers the call. Dante Robinson did not scream. He did not smash his desk. He simply pressed end call, turned to his panoramic window overlooking snowy Chicago, and cracked his knuckles once. The silence in the penthouse office, 50 floors above the chaotic streets, was absolute. Down below, the blizzard was burying the city in white, but up here, the air was still, conditioned to a perfect 70 degrees. Yet, a different kind of storm was brewing behind Dante's eyes, a cold, calculating fury that was far more dangerous than the wind howling outside. He looked at his reflection in the dark glass, a face that had negotiated billion-dollar skyline deals and reshaped the city's architecture. But right now, all he could hear was the tremor in his wife's voice. The manager just assaulted me. He didn't need to ask for details. He knew the world Maya navigated. He knew the silent judgments she faced daily because of her skin color or her simple style. But physical assault? Inside his building? That was not a mistake. That was a declaration of war. He reached for the landline on his mahogany desk, bypassing his cell phone. He dialed a number from memory, the direct private line of Marcus Thorne, the CEO of Aurelia Luxury Brand in New York. It picked up on the second ring. Dante? Merry Christmas. To what do I owe the pleasure? The voice on the other end chirped, oblivious to the guillotine hanging over his neck. Dante's voice was dangerously low, a rumble of thunder before lightning strikes. Marcus, listen carefully. Your manager at the Magnificent Mile location just assaulted my pregnant wife. You have 5 minutes to fix this, or I am canceling your lease. Not just here, Marcus. I will pull your brand from every property I own in Chicago, New York, and London. I will turn your flagship stores into Spirit Halloween pop-ups before the new year begins. He hung up before the CEO could even stammer a terrified apology. Next, he tapped a speed dial. Chief? It's Dante. I need a patrol car at the Sterling Tower immediately. Assault charges. The victim is my wife. Yes. I want it done by the book. No favors, just justice. He stood up, smoothing the front of his suit with terrifying precision. Miss Higgins, his secretary of 20 years, looked up from her desk as he stormed out of his inner office. She had seen him handle hostile takeovers and market crashes without blinking, but she had never seen this specific look in his eyes before. She stood up quickly, holding out his long cashmere coat and scarf, sensing the shift in the atmosphere. Shall I call security to escort you, sir? She asked, her hand hovering over the intercom. Dante paused, buttoning his coat with precise, deliberate movements. He shook his head. No, Miss Higgins. Security handles disturbances. This is personal. I want to look him in the eye myself. He walked past her, the heavy oak doors swinging shut behind him with a finality that signaled the end of someone's career. Dante stepped into the elevator, the numbers counting down, 50, 49, 48, heading straight for the ground floor where Gavin was waiting. Back in the boutique, the silence was shattered by the shrill, demanding ring of the store's red phone, the emergency landline behind the counter that connected directly to corporate headquarters in New York. It was a line that never rang unless the building was on fire or the stock market had crashed. Gavin, currently holding an ice pack to his own hand as if he were the victim, jumped at the sound. He glanced at Maya, who was sitting calmly on a velvet stool that Lily had brought out against orders. "That will be the authorities," Gavin announced smugly to the room, straightening his jacket with his good hand. "Or perhaps corporate calling to congratulate me on preventing a massive fraud." He picked up the receiver with a flourish, projecting his voice so the onlookers could hear. "Aurelia, Chicago, Gavin speaking. I'm currently handling a security situation, but—" He stopped. His mouth remained open, but no sound came out. The voice on the other end wasn't congratulating him. It was screaming. The regional director's voice was so loud that Lily, standing 5 feet away, could hear the distortion through the receiver. "You idiot. You absolute, colossal idiot. Do you have any idea who is sitting in your store right now?" Gavin blinked, confused, his arrogance faltering for the first time. "Yes, a fraudster with a fake card. That is Maya Robinson. Dante Robinson's wife," the director roared. "The man who owns the roof over your head just called the CEO threatening to evict us before New Year's. You are fired, Gavin. Effective immediately. Get out of my store before you cost us another $1 million. The line went dead. Gavin dropped the phone, the plastic clattering against the marble. His face drained of all color, turning a sickly shade of gray. "Robinson," he whispered, the name tasting like ash in his mouth. He looked at the brass plaque on the wall. Sterling Tower, Robinson property. He looked at the woman in the old coat. She wasn't a thief, she was the landlady. Before he could process the magnitude of his error, blue and red lights flashed against the snowy windows, painting the store in a chaotic strobe. 2 police officers pushed through the doors, shaking snow from their uniforms. Gavin stepped forward instinctively, desperate to salvage the narrative. "Officers. Thank God. This woman assaulted me, Mr. Sterling," the lead officer interrupted, ignoring Gavin's pointing finger. "We have a report of assault against Mrs. Robinson. We've reviewed the security feed from the building lobby remotely. Turn around and place your hands behind your back." Gavin froze. Then the automatic doors slid open again. The wind howled, blowing snow deep into the lobby, but no one felt the cold because Dante Robinson had arrived. He walked in flanked by 2 building security guards, wearing a long wool coat that billowed like a cape. He didn't look left. He didn't look right. He walked straight past Gavin as if the manager were nothing more than a piece of furniture, and knelt directly beside the chair where Maya sat. The room held its breath. Dante took Maya's face gently in his hands, checking the red mark on her cheek, his eyes filled with a terrifying mix of love for her and destruction for anyone else. "Are you hurt?" he asked softly, his voice the only sound in the room. Gavin stammered, backing away until he hit the glass display case, trapping himself. "Mr. Robinson. I swear I didn't know who she was." "You didn't know?" Dante stood up slowly, towering over Gavin, casting a shadow that seemed to swallow the trembling manager whole. "You didn't know she was wealthy? Or you didn't know she was a human being worthy of respect?" Dante's voice wasn't loud, but it carried a weight that pressed down on everyone in the room. He looked at Gavin not with anger, but with profound disappointment, as if he were looking at something broken beyond repair. The police officers stepped forward, their handcuffs clicking with a sound of finality that cut through the tension. As they pulled Gavin's arms behind his back, the arrogance that had defined him just an hour ago completely evaporated, leaving behind only a desperate small man. "Please, Mrs. Robinson," Gavin cried out as he was led toward the door, his eyes wide with panic. "Tell them it was a mistake. I was just doing my job. I was protecting the store." Maya looked at him, her hand resting gently on her husband's arm to steady herself. There was no hate in her eyes, only a deep, weary pity. "The mistake was yours, Gavin," she said softly, her voice carrying clearly in the hush. "You thought dignity was something people had to buy. You judged the book by its cover, and you missed the whole story." As the officers escorted Gavin out into the snow, where he would face assault charges and a lifetime of regret, the store felt suddenly lighter, as if a heavy curtain had been pulled back. Dante turned his attention to the huddled group of staff members standing near the stockroom. They flinched, terrified they would be next. But Dante's gaze scanned the group until it landed on the youngest one. "You," he said, pointing a gloved hand. "The young lady who tried to bring my wife water when everyone else turned away." Lily stepped forward, her hands shaking, tears brimming in her eyes. I'm sorry, sir. I should have done more," she whispered, bracing herself to be fired. Dante's expression softened, the ice melting from his face to reveal a genuine warmth. He reached into his coat pocket and pulled out a business card, embossed with gold leaf. "You have nothing to apologize for. In a room full of expensive things, you were the only one who showed any value." He handed her the card. "We are opening a charitable foundation next month to help mothers in need. We need a manager with empathy, not just sales skills. The job is yours if you want it, double your current salary and full college tuition support." Lily burst into happy tears, covering her mouth as the other staff members looked on in stunned silence. Maya stepped forward and hugged the young girl, whispering, "Merry Christmas, Lily." Then, wrapping her coat tight around her belly, Maya took Dante's arm. They walked out of the store, arm in arm, into the snowy Chicago night. Behind them, the closed sign was flipped on the boutique, but their future is brighter than ever. As the snow settles over Chicago, Maya's journey reminds us that even the heaviest winter coat cannot hide the radiance of a dignified soul. We learned today that true luxury is never found in a price tag, but in the quiet grace of how we treat one another when we think no one is watching. Like a diamond hidden in the snow, compassion is the only treasure that truly lasts forever. If this story warmed your heart, please share your thoughts below and join our family by subscribing to Black Brilliance, where we celebrate the beauty of resilience and the power of the human spirit every single day.